Hey guys, what's up? I'm here to review of a surreal Japanese drama horror film from director Takashi Miike, who is the director of Ichi the Killer, Visitor Q, and Audition. And tonight's movie is Gozu. This movie is about a Yakuza enforcer who is ordered to secretly drive his friend to be assassinated, but when his colleague disappears en route, the trip that follows is very surreal and horrifying. From what I've heard, this one was very much like the work of David Lynch, so there will be no rundown. Let's give this film a watch. Well, that was definitely a movie. So I said I wasn't gonna do a rundown, but I had to do it for at least the first few minutes of the movie because the first few minutes were just amazingly funny. So in the first few minutes, we meet Ozakai, who is, or Ozaki, or however you pronounce his name, who is the one who is going to be assassinated. And at first, you think that he's the main character. So they're all meeting in like this restaurant or whatever, and they see this dog outside. And Ozaki, he goes out there, he talks to his boss, and he's like, do you know what that is? That's a Yakuza dog. It's trained to attack and kill members of the Yakuza. Now, keep in mind this is a very, very small dog, and he's like, we have to kill it before it kills us. And he goes out there, grabs the dog, throws it on the ground, and just starts like beating it to death. And it's a little brutal at first, but then he takes it while it's still on the leash and like swings it around in the air like a fucking lasso, and swings it at the window of like the restaurant, and it's just so funny and really over the top. So now for the actual review. Gozu is a very dark, creepy, and surreal film. It's also quite funny. Whether or not the comedy in the film was intentional doesn't really matter to me. It still really works and really helps keep the film enjoyable. It's a really slow burn kind of film. I mean, weird stuff happens every now and then, but it doesn't get extremely weird until you get to the very end of the movie. I'm talking the last, like, few minutes, kind of like Audition. Another fucking Miike film. Um, our main character, he's really cool, really interesting, along with his partner, who is the one that kind of goes missing. And within the first like 10 minutes of the movie, his partner talks about a Yakuza dog that's trained to attack and kill Yakuza members, and a Yakuza car that's trained to run over Yakuza members. That's literally what he says. Um, so the characters aren't completely fleshed out, but they're not flat. They're not flat to where they're boring. Like there's one character that we meet called I think his name is pronounced Nose, and he has like a skin condition, and he lives in like this combination of a trailer park and a junkyard kind of thing. That's kind of really, it's interesting. Um, the film is very stylized in a very Miike way, with the lighting and camera work. It's also got that, Miike style with the Yakuza and the surrealism, and of course these strange, interesting characters and violence. The acting in the film is really good. Well, not really good, but it's pretty good. Along with the writing, it does get a bit shaky now and then, but it holds up for the most part. As stated, the lighting and camera work really blend together nicely, helping the kind of surreal style of the film. The makeup effects, along with the blood and gore effects, are good. The film really works in weaving together a very, very strange story. A very strange and hard to explain, not in a. It's similar to Visitor Q. How Visitor Q is very easy to explain. Like, you could explain what happens in each scene. And it can make sense, but it won't. And that's a little bit how this film works. This film is definitely like a combination of Visitor Q and Ichi the Killer. There's a lot of elements of both of them in here. The sound design and music also really, really good. I've heard people say that this movie is like the Japanese equivalent of Eraserhead, and it is far, far from that. I honestly expected something a lot weirder than what I got. I'm not saying I didn't like this movie, because I really liked it. It's cool. It's entertaining. It's interesting, but it's not what you really. It's not what I really expected from the man behind Each of the Killer and Visitor Q and Audition. I was expecting a lot more. I'm not extremely disappointed, but still. On the gore meter from 1 to 10, 1 being something like The Corpse Grinders, and 10 being something like Brain Dead. Gozu is probably the least violent Takashi Miike film I've ever seen. It's probably a 3. There's literally the only real violence in the film is when he kills the dog, and then there's some fist fighting and stuff like that in there, and there's a barrel of organs shown for a very brief moment, and that's really, really it. Although this one disappointed me, I really liked it. And it does pull an Audition and wait till like the last hour to start to get good, and like really good and surreal. Like, it doesn't get extremely surreal just suddenly. Like, it doesn't completely shift gears on you. It kind of slowly gets creepier and creepier until you get to the end. But I still think probably one of the creepiest parts is with the cow-headed guy that's in his underwear. That's still probably the coolest part of this entire movie. Not even the very ending of the movie, which is, in its own right, very, very cool. But it's... I mean, I probably have to say I liked it as much as I did Visitor Q. I don't want to say it's about even with Ichi the Killer. I want to say it's at least, like, second to Ichi the Killer. Like, behind Ichi the Killer. Like, and it's at a tie with Visitor Q right now. Audition is definitely still my favorite Takashi Miike film. But this one's pretty good. 4 out of 5, maybe 4.5 out of 5, 8 out of 10, maybe 9 out of 10, somewhere around there. Kind of hard to decide. I'll decide eventually. Anyway, guys, I'm BiscuitBoo69. The links to the Facebook page, Twitter, Tumblr, all that, including Rotten Cotton t-shirts, which I buy my horror film t-shirts from, all in the description below. Signing off. Peace.